Hey guys, Jennifer here back again today with my process video. Like I said, I'm getting started on the layout. I've kind of already pre-prepped some of it and I'm ready to go. I'm inking up the edges of the background paper since I scrapbook 8.5 by 11, and I'm also known for changing it up and doing it as a landscape layout. This is actually a landscape layout, so it's 11 by 8.5. And I'm inking up the edges, like I said, with vintage photo from Distress Oxide, and I'm using a dauber to rub it in and make it soft around the edges. And that's all I'm going to do to the edge. So as you can see, I've already cut the paper down and sized it up. I have my photo mats ready. My photo is matted on white paper. I just use scrap paper from leftover layouts if they're white on the other side, and I don't plan on using that paper again. So that's what I did there. That's also a little bit thicker paper, so it kind of a little more sturdy for this type of layout, since this layout will be kind of thick. And I cut out the frame from the cut apart sheet, and I left the horse on it since I don't really plan on using the horse, and there's plenty of horses in the ephemera pack. So I'm putting on Big Mama foam tape on the back. That tape I get from Spiegel Mom Scraps, and usually it's really good for shaker pockets, but it's also really good for popping up something and a little bit sturdier, so that I can put these big flowers around the edges of the photo, and it'll pop it up a little bit more than foam tape will, because it's a little bit thicker. So what I'm doing here is getting the photo ready to put down, and I realized that I plan on doing stamping around the edge. So I'm not going to actually put the picture down. I end up flipping it over, and I'm going to draw around the picture with a pencil. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I want to know where the photos can actually go, so that I know where to stamp the stitching at. So I'm going to take a chance and actually I'm going to stamp directly on my layout, as you'll see here. So there's the stamps I plan on using. I have them on my very dirty block that works very well though. So, and as you can see, it's a little stitching stamp. So I'm placing it down. I'll rock it back and forth, make sure I get a good impression. That one worked perfectly. So I'm putting on the other one. I'm going to place this one at the top part of the photo. Make sure that it's straight on your acrylic block, and then I just add some ink. And I'll make sure that I have it placed correctly. Again, a little rocking motion and down. And then I'm going to stamp the sides, and as you'll see, I don't go all the way to the top or the bottom on one of the sides. That's because I have ephemera pieces that are going to be going in the corners, so it doesn't really have to go all the way to the edge. Putting my photo back just to make sure that it's in the right place, and it is. So I'm going to continue with my stamping. So I turn it the one way, and this one has a big knot of string on the stamp, and that's because that corner will actually be shown on the layout. So I want to make sure that that corner is stitched all the way around. The other corners, it's not, so it doesn't matter, but that corner you will see it. So I'm going to take a little stamp that's also a stitching stamp, but it's a little bit smaller in size, and then I'm going to connect that corner and make sure that that corner meets top to bottom, side to side in the corner, and that way it looks complete. So there we go. Now I will put my stamps away. I'm not cleaning them off yet. They're pretty easy to clean off with the archival ink. Placing my photo, making sure it's center and it's in the middle of those stitching lines before I press it down. Once it's pressed down, it's stuck. This is a little ephemera piece. I should have showed it close up, but I didn't. It's a little ring box, and since this is a wedding photo, I thought it was cute right there in the corner. I went ahead and left the pastor in this photo because it's actually his grandfather that did their wedding vows. So I went ahead and left him in, since down the road I'm sure they'll like to see him in the photo. So I left him in the photo. I'm the one that took the photos, in case you didn't know. I've been actually fortunate enough to take both of my niece's wedding photos, and I feel really great that they allowed me to do that for them, because that's a very memorable moment, and it was a lot of pressure, but I love it and I wouldn't change it for anything. And the little butterfly, I painted it with white gesso and acrylic paint, or white acrylic paint and clear gesso. Actually, I mixed them together and I painted it, and then I painted it over with a shimmers paint, so it's like a peachy color in the close-up pictures, and that's how I got that color. If you don't gesso the chipboard, the shimmers paints will just soak into it and leave the shimmer on top. And if you just paint them with acrylic paint, then you really don't need the gesso. But since I was using the shimmers paints and I wanted it to be kind of shiny, I went ahead and gessoed it with acrylic paint. So I'm going to place my little butterfly down, and I did add a couple of little pieces of the Big Mama foam tape to the back of the butterfly. In the flower here, I'm going to use glue dots, and these are just big fat glue dots. And those just hold the flowers down a little bit better when you're working with this type of flower. It's kind of shabby chic. I used to do layouts like this. I really got away from it. But I really love the look of it, especially for elegant, beautiful photos. They just call for something more than just flat embellishments or just the normal little fun layouts. So it's been really fun working with the wedding photos and getting these layouts done. That's a clear leaf that I got from Some Assemblage Required, and I used those on my last wedding photo layout also. But they're clear, but they're stickers, so you have to peel the little backing off of them, which is kind of hard to get off sometimes. This one I fought with for a minute. And then I'll place it down at the bottom of the little flower cluster. And I'm still fighting with it. Should have cut this part out, but I didn't. Oh, there we go. So I finally got it in, placed it down. And my lighting isn't the best, but unfortunately this is the best I can do for right now. So hopefully you'll understand and just enjoy the video. These are more chipboard pieces. These are little leaves. I did the same thing. I used white acrylic paint mixed with gesso, and then added shimmers paints over the top. And I did back them with Distress Oxide green on just a piece of white paper, so that they weren't see-through anymore. And then these little tiny pieces are twigs, and I also painted those, but those are painted with a brown shimmers paint. My video cut off once again, still having a little bit of video issues, but I came back in and added the title, and these are Peppermint Kisses, I believe they're called. They're the Vicky Boutin ones from Christmas thickers. And they're the perfect size. They're not too big, they're not too small, and it was perfect just to put the kiss at the bottom, which is all this is. I was going to put the year at the top, and then I decided it was too heavy on the layout, so I decided not to add the year. There's other layouts from the same wedding, obviously, that's going to have the date, the wedding date, so I didn't really think it really needed it, and I decided not to do it. These are Farmhouse Blush Sequins from Spiegel Mom Scraps, and they're in a pinky mauve. There's a light baby blue color and then a brown sequin mix in there. And with sequins, all I do is just put little glue dots and then use my little picker from close to my heart to pick them up and place them where I want them. So sometimes I'll put 3, sometimes I'll put 1 or 2 and just move them around. If I'm adding them all around, I just kind of add them at random. Sometimes I add more and sometimes I add less. It really depends. But I really like adding the sequins, and I like putting them down where I want them to be. So here's a few close-ups that I'm going to share of this layout, and thanks for coming along and viewing my new process video, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it and give me a like and a share, and I will be back with more.